To welcome you all to the first of two capital budget deliberative forums for the 2017 City of Pittsburgh capital budget. My name is Jennifer Pursuti. I am the Assistant Director for Capital and Asset Management in the Office of Management and Budget.
I'm Dave Hutchinson. I'm the Capital Budget Manager, Office of Management and Budget as well.
And we have one elected official with us tonight, Councilwoman Natalia Rudiak. And if you wouldn't mind just saying a few words before we get started.
Hi, everybody. As Jennifer said, my name is Natalia Rudiak. I am a city council person. I represent our southernmost neighborhoods, so I guess except for Lincoln Place. I represent Beechview, Brookline, Bon Air, Carrick, Overbrook, a small part of Mount Washington. And I want to thank everybody for taking time out of your busy, busy week to be here tonight. I know we all have a million things to do. We have personal commitments, we have professional commitments, but it's really, 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 really important. And I can't stress how important it is. I know the capital budget is so exciting. I cannot stress how very, very important it is for you all to be here and to help us prioritize the needs in our communities. Every single year, we can see it on our streets, we can see it on our bridges, we can see it on our facilities. We have so many more capital budget needs, frankly, than we have funding for. And so we really, really need your input to figure out how to prioritize those needs. And it's also really helpful for you all to be here and to take this information back to your neighbors. This is not only a place for us to talk about the priorities, but it's a place for us to collectively learn how the capital budget process works, how we prioritize these things, how it's funded, other opportunities that you may have to come out and give public comment. At the end of the day, we're really talking about a budget process that culminates at the end of the year. So you can see that we start in advance for this, but it's important for us to collectively understand how it works. So again, thank you so much for being here. Really, really appreciate it and look forward to a robust discussion. And thank you to the other officials from the city who are here as well. Thank you.
Great, thank you very much. And I also want to let everyone know that this meeting will be televised on our city channel. So Chapter 218 of the City Code requires the city to hold these meetings in order to solicit the perspectives of the public on the city's capital budget process. The capital budget is where the city plans, performs work on our infrastructure, all of those long-term investments, such as our parks, our playgrounds, our bridges, our roads, and other assets. This meeting is an opportunity for city officials to hear from you, the citizens, at the beginning of the capital budget process. We want your opinions and perspectives. They are integral to this budget process. The participatory approach in these meetings uses small group discussions and a question and answer panel that will help you better understand the city's goal in the capital budget process and to get the necessary feedback from you. So let's go through tonight's itinerary. You will receive a brief overview of the process. You will also participate in small group discussions. There will be a question and answer session with our expert panel. And finally, we ask that you take a moment tonight in order to complete our feedback survey. So before we start, I think it's important to define three terms that we'll be using throughout the night. Priorities are the guiding values for the capital budget process. Set by the mayor, these priorities help departments understand what the mayor wants his budget to look like. Projects are how priorities are made real. They are the actual work that will be done to turn those priorities into improvements in all of our neighborhoods. And the capital improvement plan is what projects we are able to do in 2017 and what projects we'd like to do for the next 5 years. The city has limited resources, so it's important to set out those plans in advance. The capital budget process is based on moving from priorities to projects and from projects to plans. And that's a little difficult to see, but our role tonight is in the yellow box. It's an important step in developing our capital budget. So we start with the mayor proposing a set of priorities, And we move to the yellow box where residents evaluate those priorities and put forth projects. If we go down to the right, based on priorities, city departments and council members and our authorities propose projects. Then we move to projects are evaluated by a 10-member committee, which is the Capital Program Facilitation Committee. Projects are reviewed for CDBG eligibility, adherence to adopted plans, and feasibility. Projects go back to the mayor, who makes a plan, and then the plan gets amended and approved by city council.
And this diagram is also in one of the handouts you all got, so if you want to get a finer detail, you can check it out that way. So tonight we are going to start with the mayor's priorities. They are kind of what kicks off the capital budget season for us. For 2017, what I really like about them is that they're largely unchanged from 2016, which to me shows a commitment to what we started to do last year, and we really want to continue on with those pieces of his vision. The first one is an emphasis on fixing it first. We really want to extend the useful life of an asset before we buy something new. This has both economic and environmental benefits, which we're able to realize each year. The city at its peak was roughly twice the size as it is now, so if there's anything we can repurpose, reuse, we'd like to do that first before trying to build something new. Also, and Andrew can probably speak to this later, we have a complete streets vision that's really changing how we approach transportation. We want there to be safe, comfortable, convenient options for all modes of transportation, which includes bikes and pedestrians. We also have a goal of supporting quality of life in our neighborhoods by improving the public facilities across the city that are available to you as the residents. Our investments in processes and infrastructure is something that we really capitalized in 2016. We want to be able to deliver our services better, faster, higher quality, greater customer service, and over time, we really want to lower the cost of city services. And lastly, we have a commitment to all communities through economic development and through neighborhood building support. This can be something as small as street trees that add value to the real estate to something as large as a comprehensive plan that city planning will develop. So on the next slide, we have some sample projects of how the mayor's priorities actually become projects. The first one we're really excited about is a facility assessment tool that we engaged some industry experts to help us with. They are doing a full inventory of all of the city-owned assets in multiple phases. The first phase alone is 300 structures with roofs, and that helps us get a great database that has the dimensions of the building and also the current conditions. The current conditions help inform decisions we make later on in the budgeting process. That goes into our new facility software called Cartograph, which is actually a cloud-based management system. It also has a mapping component, so you can look at different neighborhoods in the city, see what city-owned assets are there, and drill down to some pretty fine detail, all the way down to things like the boiler or the roof or the windows. We can also use it to create work orders. We can track service history on an asset. We can also store inspection documents or warranties. So we know if the warranty is going to expire in 10 years, we can set a reminder on the 9th year to check the condition of it and see if we need to invoke that warranty. Also, this will help us with predictive condition assessments. So if the roof, again, has a 10-year warranty, we know that in 10 years from now, we're probably going to need to budget for a new roof for that building. The same software also offers another option that helps us a lot with road assessments. We're starting it for the first time in 2016. It's ongoing now. We hope to have the results pretty soon, but it's actually a tool that is underneath vehicles that are traveling through all of the 2,400 individual lane miles of city-owned roads to get an assessment of their condition. They're actually looking at 12 different factors, things like alligator cracking and potholes, to get a sense of the condition and the level of distress of our streets. This is really going to inform our paving schedule in the next year, and it should be able to give us numbers for the next 2 or 3 years out as well. Public Works is also working on a project that puts sensors under the hoods of the litter cans around the city, the ones with the black domes. That allows the Public Works team to actually develop custom routes so that they're not checking every single trash can. They're only checking the ones that are above a certain threshold. This will help save time in terms of our staff and also help save fuel, which is a great environmental benefit. And lastly, splash zones are one of the few assets we've been investing in new infrastructure. They are a really great option for people with different levels of mobility, different levels of comfort with swimming. They are very water efficient and they're easier to build than most pools. So as Jen referenced earlier, there is the CPFC, the Capital Program Facilitation Committee. We review the projects according to these criteria. The first one is whether or not the project will resolve an imminent threat to public or employee safety or health. These obviously become our first priority, and sometimes we address them as soon as we can. Also, we try to see if the project will accomplish compliance with the federal or state mandate. Those are things we definitely want to keep an eye on. And if we can leverage additional non-city funds. Sometimes this is grant funds from a corporation, sometimes it's state money or federal money. We have a great grants team that really helps us out with those. Also, city planning and DPW do a great job pursuing grant opportunities available to them. We also look at the impact on the operating budget and the potential operating savings. Some things like the cartograph road assessment tool actually help us save employee time, and that helps us save employee salaries and money. You can also look for things that improve the efficiency or effectiveness of service delivery. There are things too that will impact the quality of life in all city neighborhoods. If we can get a tool that will help all areas in the city, that's really something that's a big win for what we try to do with the capital budget. Also, we look for things like the outputs of this meeting, demonstrated support from the public. So if there is a CDC that you're active with, that's where that input really comes into play for our decision making. Also, we want to strive for things that will comply with the comprehensive plan if it's applicable, with city planning.
So to get a better idea of how funding is allocated in the capital budget, let's take a look at how funding was allocated in the 2016 capital budget. That large green bar right there is actually engineering and construction. Next to it is administration and pass-through. Let me back up. So engineering and construction are those larger items like bridges, paving, sidewalks, steps, things like that. Pass-through, those are projects that, are ADA compliant. We want to make sure that we're compliant. Community-based organizations get funding from that area, as well as technology upgrades for the city. The next bar is facility improvements. Those are things like our senior centers. Oh, thank you. And then in your handout, page 5 has examples as well. Facility improvements, our senior centers, fire, police, EMS, pools, parks, things like that is what we group in facility improvements. Neighborhood and community development, that can be signage, it can be major development projects, a lot of the URA's projects, which we have URA representatives with us tonight. A lot of their projects fall into that category. Vehicles and equipment, kind of says what it is. Those are our fire trucks, our refuse vehicles, snow removal equipment, things like that. Public safety is mostly demolition. So this is a visual representation of how money was allocated in the 2016 budget. So here's some questions we want you to think about tonight. How well do you think the priorities identified by the mayor will address the needs of the city and the needs of you and your neighbors? What other priorities might you add to the list? What types of capital projects do you think would be most helpful for the city in your neighborhood in the coming year? What specific needs would you and your neighbors like the city to address in the coming year? And we hope that your conversations get you to think about your neighborhood and the city as a whole. After the small group discussions, there will be an opportunity to ask questions to our panel of department directors, the folks who are putting together all of the project proposals right now.
So this last slide has some resources available to you. If there's anything that you're seeing in your neighborhood that seems like a capital need, please feel free to reach out. You can call 311. Also, the Myberg app, you can tweet at PGH311. And the Myberg app launched earlier this year. It's a great portal into 311 as well. If you have any questions about the capital process, please feel free to email myself and Brendan and Jen through that email address, cip@pittsburghpa.gov.
And now I'd like to introduce Tim with the Art of Democracy. He's going to walk you through the program for tonight.
Right. Thank you, Jennifer. Thank you, Dave. My name is Tim Dawson. I'm with the Art of Democracy. We have been working with the city over the last 2 years to facilitate these deliberative forums, starting with the forums on the selection of the new police chief, through last year's capital budget forums, the Affordable Housing Task Force forums earlier this winter, or over the winter, and now we're starting our second year with these capital budget forums. I just wanted to reinforce the structure for today. At this point, I'm turning you over to your moderators. These are people who have volunteered their time tonight to help facilitate your conversation. So moderators, please raise your hands. Thank you all for coming tonight. Now, the moderators are going to guide you through about a 45-minute discussion period or 50-minute discussion period, broken up into 3 sections that Jen indicated earlier. First, we're going to ask that you discuss the mayor's priorities, and these are listed on page 4 of the briefing materials that you have. Those priorities that Jennifer and Dave just covered are on the briefing materials. The next section, and you're going to discuss that for about 15 minutes in terms of what you think about those priorities and do they reflect the values you have and the priorities you have. Next, we're going to ask that you think about citywide. What sort of capital projects do you think the city as a whole would benefit from? And you can use those as a resource. Page 5 of the document, thinking about some of the things that were funded in the 2016 capital budget. And then in the third section, we're going to ask that you think about your own particular neighborhood, your own particular community. What specific needs do you come to this meeting today that you feel need to be talked about? Now, as Jennifer said, after the discussion periods are over, you're going to, as a table, come together and formulate some questions that you have for this panel that just introduced themselves. And so your whole table is going to come up with 2 questions. The first question is the one you're going to identify as the one you want to definitely ask. You're going to nominate somebody from your table to ask that question, and then you're going to kind of let that person give an overview of what you discussed over the last hour and then why that is your question. Right. The second question, write it down. We're going to have it as a resource in case somebody at another table asks your question before you do. But we will not have time tonight to address all of the questions that you have. So any questions that you do have, please make sure that they get noted down. Right. But the most important thing that we're going to be ultimately doing at the end of the day is after the resource panel, you're going to be completing a survey. And the way we talk about the survey is anything that you want the city definitely to know needs to go on that survey. There's opportunities for making comments. There's opportunities for checking boxes, but that survey is the primary means that you have your voice heard tonight. So listen to your tables, listen to your neighbors, share with your neighbors, share your insight and wisdom, and then at the end of the day, you're going to be able to share all that with the city through that survey.